Private Lender Podcast, episode 133.
The Private Lender Podcast quote of the day comes to us from Ralph Waldo Emerson, who said, "Can anyone remember a time when the times were not hard and money not scarce?"
This is the Private Lender Podcast, the show that shares practical advice and know-how for new and seasoned lenders, from private mortgages on single-family houses to joint ventures on commercial projects and beyond. Discover details about investment vehicles that you won't find at your local bank or online broker. Listen and learn from private lenders and real estate investors, as well as from professionals and entrepreneurs, as they share the details, strategies, and the insight that allows for successful and prosperous lending. Now, get ready to increase your ROI. Here's your host, Keith Baker.
Hello, Lender Nation, and welcome to episode 133 of the Private Lender Podcast. I'm your host, Keith Baker, and I'd like to thank you for sharing your time with me today. I hope everyone is enjoying their 4th of July observance. The day this episode goes live, it will be the 5th of July, I believe. And to the other 194 countries not named the United States of America, then I hope you're having a great Monday. Look, if you're looking for practical tips and advice on private lending and how to keep your money safe, then you are in the right place. But if you want to learn from my mistakes so that you can both avoid them and profit from them, well, then pull up a chair and pour yourself a drink, my friend, because this podcast is just for you. Today, we continue the lessons taken from the book, The Richest Man in Babylon. Today is the Fourth Law of Wealth. This is but one old world principle that has remained relevant and true throughout the centuries, no matter the currency or the political and climate. But before we get down to today's brass tacks, I would like to perform a little housekeeping. Have you joined the Private Lender Podcast Facebook group? Then why the hell not? Head over to the show notes for the link or simply search Facebook groups for the Private Lender Podcast and answer a few questions and join and be in a community of like-minded lenders. And most important of all, the Private Lender Academy was supposed to launch this week. Gonna have a little delay there. But that doesn't mean you can't head over to privatelenderacademy.com and click on the Apply Now button to give us a little background about your investing experience, but more importantly, that'll put you on the list for the discounts and the early bird stuff. I'm going to do probably do a very cheap beta go around first, mid to late July, before putting the lipstick on the pig and really launching it and kicking it out with all the advertisements and everything else. So anyhow, please go over privatelenderacademy.com for more information. And now that the housekeeping is finished, we can get down to the brass tacks. In the book, The Richest Man in Babylon, there are 7 cures for a lean purse or a lean account. And there are 5 laws of gold, or I like to call the 5 laws of wealth. And today we're going to discuss the 4th law of wealth, which is simply, gold slips away from the man who invested in businesses or purposes with which he is not familiar, or which are not approved by those skilled in its keep. The book goes on to state, the man who has gold, yet is not skilled in its handling, many uses for it appear most profitable. Too often these are fraught with danger of loss, and if properly analyzed by wise men, show small possibility of profit. Therefore, the inexperienced owner of gold who trusts to his own judgment and invested in businesses or purposes with which he is not familiar, too often finds his judgment imperfect, and pays with his treasure for his experience. Wise indeed is he who invests his treasures under the advice of men skilled in the ways of gold. I think the lesson is very simple here. If you don't quite feel you know what you're doing, or if you don't know what you're doing, then stay a hell away from an investment. Absolutely get your education. Look, this is a good start here at the podcast. This is a great way to build your knowledge and ultimately your confidence, right? You want to seek advice from those who have a successful track record of investing their money, in this case, other people's money as well, especially since we're talking about real estate investors. And this will help ensure your success. Gathering opinions and seeking counsel from proven investment strategies from proven investors. Don't get caught up in the swell of bubble market when everyone is doing it, or it's so easy, why aren't you doing it? Right? Don't bet your treasure on shiny objects, but rather seek friendship and fellowship, counsel and advice from those skilled in successfully handling and investing money. Let them help guide you beyond the wolves and the hype of speculation. Right? You get your education, sure, but it always helps to have a second pair of eyes or a third set of eyes to look at something you're about to do, especially if you're relatively new, or even if you're seasoned. It's a good deal, a good idea to have another set of eyes look over your deal. Even in the consulting world, we always have another set of eyes look over our reports before we release them. It doesn't hurt. No matter how I've been doing, that stuff for 12 years or longer, doesn't matter. Always have somebody look over it, especially if you don't know what you're doing, you don't know how to comp very well, and you're green. And it's not that hard, right? Because what this gets down to is that your net worth is going to be equal to your network. So now you need to go out and find such people that can help you stay safe and help you invest with logic rather than emotion. And that, my friend, is the brass tacks of today's episode. Okay, so the sermon is over. I want to thank you for listening. And here's the deal. I don't charge money for the show, but there is a cost to produce it. And I'd be extremely grateful if you would help drive awareness to the Private Lender Podcast. To get the word out by leaving me an honest rating and review over at Google Podcasts, Spotify, or whatever platform you're using to hear my voice. But it would mean the world to me if you could leave an honest rating and review over at iTunes, because it's Apple, and they're still the 800-pound gorilla in the room and the benchmark for podcast distribution. It doesn't take that long, and it's a small price to pay for the value that I try to provide every week for you for free. And you can go to the show notes page, and there'll be a link that makes it real easy to take you over there to leave an honest rating and review. I would love a 5-star review, and people say I should always ask for 5-star reviews. I would rather have an honest rating and review. Yeah, I want a 5-star, sure. But an honest rating and review is actually going to help me more than just a bunch of smoke blowing up my ass to make me feel better, get my head and my ego big. So anyhow, and if you're looking to create your stable of private lenders or know people who have money but don't realize the power of private lending, especially as inflation and fears of inflation increase, then please send them a text, an email, a DM, a smoke signal. Do whatever you got to do. Yell out your window. Introduce them to me in the Private Lender Podcast so they can develop the skills and the confidence to become a successful private lender, to where they can build a group of people that they can seek advice from, like as in today's episode. They can build a network of people who are skilled in the handling of money and the investing of money. All right, that's going to do it for episode 133, and I'd like to provide just a few final thoughts for you. Please go over and join the Private Lender Podcast Facebook group. And remember, Private Lender Academy will launch in July 2021, hopefully in the next few weeks. Head over to privatelenderacademy.com for more information. And to be eligible for discounts and other pre-launch goodies, then click on Apply Now. So as I sign off, I'd like to say, in addition to self-awareness and mindfulness, I wish you safe and prosperous private lending. I'll catch you on the next episode. Y'all take care.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of Private Lender Podcast with your host, Keith Baker. For more great content and to stay up to date, visit privatelenderpodcast.com. If you enjoyed today's episode, please rate and review, and we'll catch you next time.
Pay him. Pay that man his money.